Wrestling with Siblings. I'm your host, Araceli, and this is my co-host, Armando.
Hi guys, I'm Armando, and welcome to Wrestling with Siblings.
Alright, we are 49 days away from WrestleMania, and one of the stops on the road to WrestleMania was the Elimination Chamber live from Houston, Texas.
Yeah, excited for the Elimination Chamber just because they were going to crown new Women's Tag Team Champions, and we'll get into that in a little bit.
Yes. Very, very good pay-per-view. I think it was one of the best of the whole year, basically. I mean, I know this is only the second one, but this year is living up to their expectations when it comes to pay-per-views. The Rumble was great. This one's great. I can expect Fastlane to be fantastic, and WrestleMania, of course, being probably one of the best pay-per-views of the entire year.
Definitely on the same page. I have to agree with you. This was probably by far one of the better pay-per-views. Even though they had a short match card, it still lived up to the expectation, and I thought it was pretty good.
Alright, let's get started with the very first match of the night, which was the Women's Elimination Chamber to crown the brand new Women's Champion.
Keep in mind, I thought this match was going to be the main event match just because we were crowning some new champions.
Yes.
But surprisingly, it started opening up the show.
Yes, so this was for the Tag Team Championship. Sorry, I didn't say that in the beginning. But Sonya Deville and Mandy Rose versus Bayley and Sasha was going to be starting off this brilliant match.
Keep in mind that they had matches in Raw and in SmackDown to see who were going to be the teams that were going to start off. For Raw, it was Bayley and Sasha, and for SmackDown, it was Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville. So they get to face each other and start off in the Elimination Chamber.
Yes, what he just said is correct. Sonya Deville and Mandy starting off strong. They immediately went onto the attack with Sasha and Bayley. And keep in mind, these two teams were at the disadvantage going in from the get-go. They were the first teams to start, and that is the biggest disadvantage you could potentially have. And they lasted the entire Elimination Chamber, which is great because it really showcased how big of the underdogs these two teams were.
Yeah, and then obviously Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville brought the fight to Sasha Banks and Bayley since the beginning.
Yes, and not only to them, but to the entire women that were participating in this Elimination Chamber. And keep in mind, Sonya Deville and Mandy Rose, they had their eyes on the prize. They knew exactly what was at stake, and that was to make history and become the very first ever Women's Tag Team Champions.
And they were very, very close.
They were very, very close. As we said, Sonya and Mandy, Bayley and Sasha were the last four women, the last two teams that remained here. But the third team that came into this match was the Riot Squad. I expected them to come in, roughly around this time, if not being last. But they also showcased who they were, and they proved why they're so good and why they've improved so much over the last year.
Yeah, once they came in, they completely cleaned house, and they just completely dominated the entire match.
Yes, and they definitely did their homework, because you can tell that they were definitely prepared for this type of match. And you gotta give it to Sarah and Liv, who, if you look at all the other teams, they're kind of like the underdogs because you don't see them as these big top stars. And yeah, Sonya and Mandy could also be considered the underdogs, but you get to see more of them on a weekly basis, and you get to see them more into these matches. And Liv and Sarah were really well showcased in this match.
Definitely have to agree with you on that one.
And the fourth pick was Armando's pick, which was the Iconics. They are brilliant. They're smart. They did everything right in this match.
Yeah, they did. Even when they came in, they were strategically picking who they were going to go on after. And they sure did. I mean, because as soon as Nia Jax and Tamina came in, they went and they hit inside the pod. And it was brilliant. I was like, okay, they're not going to be wrestling as much with the other teams because they want to be the last team.
They knew that if they were to get into a fight with Nia and Tamina, it was pretty much over for them. So what did they do? They went to go hide, and that was smart because they were putting themselves in a position where they were advancing quicker than anybody else. And I really feel like the Iconics were the stars of this match simply because of everything they did. They were brutal, not only against one team, but against everybody, and they made it really far. And you gotta give it to the Iconics.
Yeah, they pretty much stole the moments when they were in the Elimination Chamber. They pretty much stole the show.
They definitely did. You have to give it to them, though. They are extremely talented. They're smart. And honestly, if it wasn't because Sasha and Bayley were in this match, I would have given it to the Iconics. They're one hell of a team.
Yeah, and I mean, they've been working together since they were down in NXT and maybe even before that.
Yeah.
So they had an advantage. They were, in my opinion, the team that knew each other the best and knew what they wanted since the beginning. Yeah, you have Sasha and Bayley, but nothing compared to like being with someone since the very beginning, since you started your career.
Yes, and they were causing physical punishment to everybody. They equally dominated everybody, and every opportunity they saw, they would go for a pin, and creativity came into play with them, and they were being extremely brutal. They definitely did their homework on each and every single one of these teams.
I mean, just look at the way they eliminated Naomi and Carmella.
Yes, which is the fifth team that came in. They started off strong as well, but it was cut short by none other than the Iconics, because the Iconics were keeping their eye on the prize, as we said.
Yeah, and obviously the Iconics showed their creativity throughout the match, and like I said earlier, this was an example.
And eventually, after Naomi and Carmella got eliminated, you got to see Sasha and Bayley, Nia Jax and Tamina, and then I believe Mandy and Sonya, who were pretty much surrounding all of the Iconics, and they were like, nah, don't team up on us, team up on Nia and Tamina, who were still in the pod. Sorry, so it was the Riots, Sasha and Bayley, and Mandy and Sonya, who were surrounding them, and they saw them as the biggest threat, and they were like, well, we're gonna have to take out the Iconics if we want to go any further in this match. And the Iconics were like, no, why would you team up on us? Let's team up on the most dominant team, which was the 16.
And which was brilliant, because as soon as Nia Jax and Tamina came in, it was a game changer. They just dominated. They were brutal with all the women. And I mean, the way they grabbed, I believe the Iconics, or no, was it
No, she was pretty much throwing everybody around, but she was throwing Liv and Sarah, just grabbing them and squashing them, literally throwing them across the chamber and throwing them from here to there.
Pretty much ragdolling them.
Exactly.
And I mean, that was very, very impressive.
That definitely was impressive, and I feel like each and every single one of these women definitely lived up to the expectation. They definitely set the bar, and they 100% delivered.
For me, probably the biggest mistake that Nia Jax and Tamina made was that they were trying to take advantage of a situation where Bayley was already hurt. So Nia Jax decides to run and put Bayley through one of the pods, but Bayley was able to move out of the way, and Nia Jax ends up crashing and being inside the pod. Which for me, that was a turning point, and that cost them the match, because everybody gained up on Tamina and they were able to eliminate her.
Yeah, and all the teams capitalized on that opportunity. They were like, okay, our biggest threat, Nia Jax, is out of the question. She is out of the game. Now, let's take to Tamina. And all of us together, if we work together, we can take out Tamina. And that's exactly what they did. They all pinned Tamina. They all finished her. And now that pretty much set the game one-on-one against Sasha and Bayley, against Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville. And again, you got to give it to Sonya and Mandy Deville. They survived with 6 other teams in this chamber, and they really, really proved that they are going to be future stars.
Yeah, definitely. And then obviously Bayley and Sasha were the ones that ended up winning the first ever women's tag team champions.
Very well deserved. I feel like this is a team that deserved it. Storyline wise, I probably would have given it to the Iconics, simply because there is so much more that you can do. And yeah, they've been a tag team longer than Sasha and Bayley, but it makes perfect sense. From a business perspective, I see it. You couldn't have gone with anybody else other than Sasha and Bayley.
Yeah, and then Sasha and Bayley, pretty much the 4 horsewomen, and now they have made history and became the first ever women's tag team champions.
They definitely earned this opportunity. Alright, moving on to the very next match, which was Shane McMahon and The Miz versus the Usos. Before this match even started, The Miz came out first, and he says, we told you guys that whenever we have a big announcement, we were going to share it with the WWE Universe, and that is exactly what he did. The Miz, Maryse then comes out, and they announce there will be a second child on the way, so there's a second It Baby coming.
So congratulations to Maryse and The Miz.
And The Miz, congratulations from WWS. Alright, now let's get into this match. I feel like Shane and Miz got a lot more comfortable. They have been more comfortable with each other, and they worked extremely, extremely well together. And I feel like they were really underestimated by the entire SmackDown tag team division, and now they got to the point where it was like, no, we're going to prove you guys wrong, and they definitely have. Because for a team that didn't know each other well, I mean, Shane was Miz's boss. Who tag teams with their boss? You know, it's very, very rare. And they really, really managed to make it work.
Yeah, and not only that, but they ended up facing, in my opinion, the best tag team in the WWE right now, which is the Usos.
And they did not disappoint. You know, for the elite talent that they were facing, the Usos, they didn't disappoint. They definitely gave them a fight, and you got to see Miz and Shane dominate the majority of this match. And then the Usos, yeah, they gave offense by isolating the Miz, but once Shane came into this match, that's it. It was pretty much a game changer. Miz's biggest mistake, though, was him putting Shane in that situation, because ever since the beginning, every time he has Shane do one of these big maneuvers, it goes wrong for them. We saw it with the bar, and we've seen it countless amount of times. And now, when he makes him do the coast-to-coast from the top rope up until the announce table, that's pretty much it. That was a game changer, because Shane was out for the rest of the match, and that's something the Usos capitalized on.
Yeah, and then also, when The Miz was pinning the Usos, he just laid back and was like, okay, I got this one, and then the Usos was able to capitalize and was able to get the win. 1, 2, 3, and The Miz was shocked. He's like, damn, I messed up.
Yep, and that's how the Usos were pretty much able to regain the tag team championships. But I also feel like a lot of that comes from not only what I said, but I feel like The Miz wasn't 100%. I feel like he wasn't mentally there. I think he was too excited about announcing baby number 2, and he was just not in fully 100% in his game. And we got to see that, because he told Shane, I'm sorry. And you can see he was very, very disappointed. They even showed that after one of the matches where he was backstage, and then he gets really, really upset. He's like, I am better than that. I am the best, because he knows he is better than what he performed in this match, and he was not happy. He was disappointed in himself.
Yeah, he took the loss to heart pretty much, especially because he disappointed Shane, and not only that, but his father.
Yes. And also keep in mind, he dedicated this match to his unborn child, to Maurice, and to his father, so he definitely was hurt about the loss. But again, the Usos always know how to survive. They capitalized on the opportunity. They're a smart tag team, and that is why they are one of the best teams.
And like I always said, the Usos are a smart tag team, and the key thing is they know how to survive. They know how to win matches in any situation, and I think that's been a huge part of their success.
Yes.
Being able to capitalize on that.
I 100% agree with you on that one. Anything else you'd like to add on this match?
No.
Alright, moving on to Bobby Lashley and Lio Rush versus Finn Balor for the Intercontinental Championship. So this was a handicap match. Finn Balor could pin either Lio or Bobby to become the Intercontinental Championship. So this was going to be an interesting match. It was good though. But, again, Finn Balor always at the disadvantage, always the underdog. But he came through and he was able to win the Intercontinental Championship.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting Finn Balor to win just because of the numbers game. Not because of his talent, because I know he's talented, and he proved it in this match, and he's been proving it all through his career. It was just the numbers game. The numbers game was going to be a huge disadvantage throughout this match, and it was going to be hard to take out Bobby Lashley and Lio Rush at the same time, which is what he did.
Yes, and we definitely saw that. You know, it was a big disadvantage for him, because first Bobby Lashley started off, you know, and you kind of got to see them go head to head, and then Lio Rush would find little openings here and there to trigger Finn Balor to do something to distract him, so that Finn wasn't able to capitalize. And that played a huge factor, because at the end of the day, Lio Rush has helped Bobby Lashley get to where he is today. But Finn was prepared this time. He was ready, and he knew what he was getting himself into, and I feel like he definitely did his homework on both these opponents.
And I think Lio Rush played a huge part in the loss, because he wanted to keep on getting himself involved in the match throughout key points.
Yes. And by him getting involved in this match, every time Finn Balor would capitalize on him, he would go and tag Lashley. Why? He didn't really want to match up to Finn, I suppose. But therefore, he would tag in Lashley, and Lashley would handle the rest of the work. And you kind of got to see them both isolate Finn Balor down for a while. You were like, okay, is he done? Is he not going to beat them? But at the end of the day, you know Finn Balor can turn things around. And he was able to finally gain a championship.
Yeah, and then on top of that, Leo Rush wanted to be the one to pin Finn Balor. So I think that was a mistake, and that's what ended up costing Bobby Lashley the title.
Yes, and also keep in mind, he did tag himself in single-handedly by himself without Bobby. And Bobby was like, what are you doing? And that is where the big mistake started. And Finn was able to capitalize. I am super glad, though, that they finally give Finn Balor a championship. They finally gave him the opportunity he deserves, and he's going to be a great Intercontinental Champion.
Definitely, like you said, I'm happy for Finn Balor, too. Even though he didn't get the Universal Champion, but I do see him Intercontinental Champion for quite some time.
Yeah, and this is a big step for Finn Balor. I mean, after coming back from his injury, he hasn't gotten any championship. He's gotten opportunities, but he's lost every single time because that's the way they booked him. And now it was the perfect time after giving him that big push with Brock and all the matches he's had and making him really seem like the real underdog. I feel this was the perfect opportunity.
And we also saw Bobby Lashley get upset and attack Leo Rush after the match just because he lost. And he feels that it was because of Leo Rush.
Can you blame him, though? I mean, he's super dominant. He knew he could take on Finn Balor, and he lost because of Leo Rush.
Yeah, but keep in mind, like you said, if Leo Rush took him to be the Ice Intercontinental Champion, he could do it again.
He definitely can, but now it seems like they're apart. They're no longer going to be together. But will Leo Rush forgive him tomorrow on Raw?
Yeah. So we'll see what happens between Bobby Lashley and Leo Rush.
Yes. All right. Moving on to Ronda Rousey versus Ruby Riott for the Raw Women's Championship. Sorry. Before the match even starts, Charlotte Flair comes out and she cuts a promo. You know she has to cut a promo, right? She has to do something to get the feud going for WrestleMania. And so she comes out and she says she's going to WrestleMania. She's definitely going to be the main event. And she decimated Becky Lynch at a live event, which was last night, I believe, somewhere in Louisiana. And she's here to say she is the greatest wrestler, pretty much is what she's implying.
Yeah, and that Ronda needs her at WrestleMania.
Yes, and she also claims that Becky Lynch needs attention, and that is just exactly what she's doing. She's an attention seeker.
Yeah, but keep in mind she was also out there because she was going to be ringside during Ronda Rousey and Ruby Riott's match.
Yes, and she gets interrupted by none other than Ruby Riott, and so then this leads into the match. I am extremely disappointed in this match because Ruby Riott has so much potential. We have seen what she's done with the Riott Squad. We have seen her matches, her match with Natty. We have seen countless of matches, and she has delivered. You can tell she can carry her own match, she can carry her own weight, and she can carry somebody like Ronda Rousey. And I feel like they completely just squashed her and made the last year of her entire career, the big push that she was getting by bringing the Riott Squad into this, just gone.
Yeah, definitely. And I feel that also has to do with squeezing Becky into the segment in the match. And keep in mind that this was going to be Ruby Riott's biggest match in her career. And for it to be short and end like that, yeah, it was pretty disappointing.
The match was like 1 minute and 45 seconds. That's how long this match was. We haven't had a match probably this long this short for a really long time, and it's just really disappointing because Ruby Riott could have given Ronda Rousey a great match, and they had to cut it short to add Becky Lynch into this. And don't get me wrong, the segment was fantastic. You know, you got to see Becky Lynch come out as Ronda and Charlotte were having the stare down. She comes out and she basically just hit Charlotte and Ronda with her crutches because she did get attacked by Charlotte last night in Louisiana. So where does that leave Ruby Riott? You just killed her entire momentum.
Yeah, hopefully she gets another opportunity at Fastlane to really prove herself against Ronda.
I definitely want to see that, though, because there is going to be more to that match. And I feel like they can definitely deliver, and it could be a show-stealer match. We've seen Ruby Riott face the top stars of this business, and she's proved that she can hang with them. Why can't she have a match with Ronda Rousey?
Yeah, and not only that, but the Riott Squad was not going to be on her side. And what better way to be like, look, yeah, the Riot Squad has my back, but when it comes down to singles competition, she was trying to prove that she gets down and throws hands.
Exactly, and this was going to be her biggest opportunity. I just feel like she should have gotten the match that she deserves. She does not deserve a 1-minute match.
Even if she would have lost to Ronda.
Exactly. It doesn't matter. Like, yeah, she would have lost, but you would have given her a fair match. You would have given her the opportunity to showcase what she's worked for and the type of athlete that she is. And in this match, you really didn't do that because she came in, she ran away, went in, and she was put in the armbar, and that's it.
Yeah, she was trying to play some mind games with Ronda Rousey, and as soon as Ronda Rousey got a hold of her, it was pretty much over. And just got to be impressed with Ronda, how quickly she executes that armbar.
Yes, and you have to give it to Ronda for that. But moving on to the very next match of the night, which was Baron Corbin versus Braun Strowman in a no disqualification match. I was surprised by the ending of this match and by what went down in this match, because we got to see Baron Corbin do something you don't really get to see. You know, he took Braun to his limit, and he was able to keep him down for 90% of this match.
Yeah, definitely. But keep in mind, it was a no disqualification match, and since Baron Corbin has friends and has backup, McIntyre and Bobby Lashley decided to show up and interfere in the match.
Yep, and they completely destroyed Braun Strowman like you never see that happen. And they took him out, and that was the opportunity for Baron Corbin to be able to capitalize. But also, this lets you know that Braun Strowman really has no friends. Nobody came to his aid. When Kurt Angle was getting destroyed and was about to get attacked by basically all three of these men, who was there to save him? Braun Strowman. Same thing with Finn Balor. And none of them were there to actually help him, to save him from these men.
But I see why, because I wouldn't like to mess with McIntyre and Bobby Lashley.
Well, yeah, I mean, that makes perfect sense, but it just goes to show that the Monster Among Men is really on his own in this entire business, pretty much, because nobody ever came out to help him.
Yeah, and one of the things is that Baron Corbin has been able to outsmart Braun Strowman since the beginning, since this feud pretty much started, and Braun Strowman hasn't realized that, and he's fallen into his games.
Yes, and he definitely is the brain.
And this match is a perfect example. Pretty much Baron Corbin set him up.
Yes, and that's something Braun Strowman was not expecting. I can guarantee you he had no idea that McIntyre and Bobby Lashley were going to interfere in this match. And you can tell he was ready, though, because when McIntyre's music hit, he was like, come on. He was ready, but at the end of the day, he knew he had no chance. It just goes to show, man, he's by himself, and sometimes you gotta be selfish. And I say, turn him, give him a hell of a run, and he's gonna do fantastic. Alright, moving on to the very next match of the night, which was the men's Elimination Chamber match. Daniel Bryan versus AJ Styles versus Samoa Joe versus Jeff Hardy versus Kofi Kingston versus Randy Orton. Oh my god, that was super long. I ran out of breath saying that. But Daniel Bryan and Samoa Joe started off this match. You can tell from the get-go this was going to be a fantastic and incredible match just because of all the athleticism you have, all the talent, and everybody that was going to be participating in this match.
Yeah, and after what Kofi has shown on Tuesday's episode of SmackDown, I was excited to see what he was going to do in the Elimination Chamber.
You know Kofi never disappoints. Whether it's an attack match, singles competition, Royal Rumbles, whatever, he never disappoints. He always knows how to get you or the crowd attracted to his matches.
One of the things I did not expect was for Daniel Bryan to start the match. I was expecting him to be maybe number 3, number 4.
On the other hand, I expected Daniel Bryan to be first just because he is the champion, and I was like, okay, well, he's first. He's going to have to defend, and he's obviously going to have to make it till the very end. That, to me, was pretty obvious, but I also see where you're coming from, because it would have been a little more of a twister where, like, he comes in 3rd, 4th, or even last, where you're like, why is he last? You know? It just adds more to the match. But I am disappointed because they make Samoa Joe seem super strong. They make him this big, brutal, I don't want to say monster because that's Braun.
Yeah, this big star, and then all of a sudden when it comes to getting the big match, it doesn't happen. We saw it with AJ and we saw it in this feud. And don't get me wrong, Samoa Joe was one of the favorites to win this match just because of, like you said, his brutality and just his aggression. And not only that, but the coquina clutch, which it comes into play a lot.
Yeah, but aside from all his moves, he has the perfect character. He's been getting the right push. He has the perfect character. He can spit bars when he needs to spit bars. His character is out of this world, and it's something new, something fresh. And every time you see Joe, you're like, I want to see that man as champion. And he was the first one eliminated. Why?
Yeah, I don't know why, but you do have a point on what you said, that whenever he is there for the title, it just disappoints. He doesn't close the deal.
And it's not that he has a bad match, because he doesn't. He always has a fantastic match, and he always delivers. He gives it 100%. He is fully committed. But then for some reason, WWE is like, I don't want him as champion, and they always end up screwing him over. He was the first one eliminated. Honestly, I wasn't expecting him to be the first one.
It kind of reminds you of like Finn Balor, but hopefully Samoa Joe down the road gets a title. Because, yes, like you said, I feel he deserves it.
He definitely does. You know, that just really upset me, because I was like, you give him the best feuds ever, and then when it comes to a championship opportunity, it's gone.
Yeah. And keep in mind, the third superstar to come out on the Chamber was Kofi Kingston.
Yes, everybody was waiting for Kofi to come into this match, simply because we already knew at what level he was going to take this Chamber match to.
And going back on Daniel Bryan, before we get back into Kofi Kingston, Daniel Bryan was smart because he was running all over the ring at first, trying to kill time so that the third superstar would come out.
And he didn't have to be one-on-one with Samoa Joe, because he saw how big of a threat Samoa Joe was. So, when Kofi Kingston comes in, he is ready. He starts throwing hands. He was prepared. And obviously, I feel like he was analyzing the superstars before he went into this match.
And then, how impressive were those chops between Daniel Bryan and Samoa Joe? They were just going at it.
Brutal.
One after another. If you look at both of their chests, it was just so red. You could see the handprints on their chest.
You definitely can, man. That was brutal. But getting back into Kofi Kingston, I like to see Kofi. He is something new, something fresh, and I feel like he's super underrated. I feel like he's super underrated, to put it that way. Did I see him winning? No. Was he close? He was close.
And he put on one hell of a show.
He did. I feel like he was a star of this Chamber match. You know, from the women, we said it was the Iconics. For the men, it was definitely Kofi Kingston, and the crowd was behind him. The crowd wanted to see him, and after his performance on Tuesday, like you said, he was a fan favorite going into this match.
And then the fourth superstar to enter was AJ Styles, and he was ready for everybody. He was analyzing, and as soon as he came out, he was just laying it all on the line and willing to win, and was pretty much dominating.
This was a game changer right here, because I feel like they weren't expecting him to come in this early. I feel like everybody was expecting him to be either last or come in close to last. And I feel like they definitely were not ready for him, because when he came in, like you said, he just took everybody out. He cleaned house, and he was proving why he is the phenomenal AJ Styles. And he brought something new to the table as well, because we did get to see him do a phenomenal forearm from, what was it, the cage? From the top of the, was it the cage or was it the pod? Where he does the phenomenal forearm onto Daniel Bryan.
He does it onto Daniel Bryan from the ropes, onto the cage.
Up onto the cage. That right there was incredible, and it just goes to show how far these men are willing to go for a shot at the championship.
And not only that, AJ Styles eliminated the biggest threat in the Elimination Chamber at that point, which was Samoa Joe.
Which is why I said he was the first elimination. I was highly upset, but I just hope this doesn't lead again into another AJ Styles versus Samoa Joe feud, because as great as it was, as much as I'd enjoy it, I don't want to see that. I feel like there's a lot more for Joe and there's a lot more for AJ Styles.
And the fifth member to enter the Elimination Chamber was Jeff Hardy.
Honestly, this was my pick to get eliminated first. Nothing against Jeff. Honestly, like, nothing against him. But if you really look at it, I don't want to say the weakest link, because he really isn't. I just feel like the inexperience was what was going to get him eliminated, and not only that, his type of style that he has. And he was my pick to get first eliminated, but, you know, nothing against Jeff. For the amount of time that he was there, which was about maybe 5 minutes, he delivered. He gave a great match, and he is a Hardy, so you got to give it to him.
What about that Swanton bomb he did off the pod?
Amazing. He's always willing to deliver, and he puts his body on the line for our entertainment, and you always got to give it to Jeff Hardy.
And at the end of the day, that's what cost Jeff Hardy to get eliminated.
Yes. And Randy Orton, the 6th member to come into this match, the man with the most experience, 7 elimination chambers, and he was ready for everybody. He came in and he was just dominating. I feel like him being number 6 was brilliant, but it was a bad decision because you already know that when he came in, he was going to be one of the biggest stars that was going to make it far.
Yeah, and then what about that RKO he did to AJ Styles when AJ Styles was going to do the phenomenal forearm right from the top rope? He catches him and just does the RKO out of nowhere and eliminates AJ Styles.
Greatest finishing move in the entire WWE, if not the world. You can execute that at any given time without any preparation, and it will work. And 90% of the time, your opponent will not kick out.
Yeah.
It's brilliant.
And I think it's the best finishing move out there.
I definitely do agree with you on that one, but you also have to keep in mind, given the fact he's the most experienced going into this match, you also have to keep in mind of who he is. He is the Viper. He is the Legend Killer. He was going to be extremely dangerous inside of a match like this.
And me personally, I thought that the match was going to be Daniel Bryan and Randy Orton being the last 2 left, but no, surprisingly, it was Kofi Kingston who eliminated Randy.
His match with Daniel Bryan was everything you could have ever wanted for this pay-per-view and how it ended. It was brilliant. Kofi was put over, and yes, he didn't win. Don't get me wrong, he didn't win, but he was definitely put over because Daniel Bryan gave him that match that everybody was waiting for Kofi to finally have. And Kofi delivered 100%, and he gave Daniel Bryan probably the toughest fight of his entire life. He almost beat him, I believe, 3 or 4 times where you were just like, there is no way Daniel Bryan kicked out of that.
Yeah, this match had me at the edge of my seat, and I'm sure you guys too, but it was just what Kofi Kingston did was just so amazing. Just pushing Daniel Bryan to the limit.
He deserved this opportunity, and I would like to see him as champion sometime soon, but he definitely showcased his talent and who he is as an in-ring competitor in this match.
And there was a couple times where you're like, okay, he's done. Daniel Bryan has him beat, and no, he kicked out, and at the end, what ended up costing Kofi Kingston his match was his style. His always being a high flyer and always taking risks. What does he do? He decides to jump off the pod, right? And Daniel Bryan rolls out of the way, catches him with the knee to the face, running knee to the face, and that was pretty much it.
That was pretty much it. But not only that, I also feel like it comes from Daniel Bryan's experience. He's being smart. He's one of those guys that is always thinking ahead. And I feel like he knew eventually Kofi is going to make a mistake.
Yeah.
And he was waiting for Kofi to do exactly that. Make a mistake so he can capitalize on that and be able to retain.
And that's where the experience comes into play.
In this match, definitely yes. I mean, that's all I have. Is there anything else you have?
No.
Anything else you want to add?
That was pretty much it. And again, it was one of the top pay-per-views so far.
Definitely. So it's going to be very, very tough for WWE to continue topping each pay-per-view because they topped the Rumble. To me, personally, they topped the Rumble. And now it's up to Fastlane to top Chamber.
And I also feel that Kofi Kingston earned everybody's respect. Not only ours, but also some of his competitors in that match.
Yeah, he definitely did. I feel like the way they wrote it, the way it was booked, was perfect. You couldn't have done it any other way. But don't be surprised if you see Kofi in the title picture sometime soon.
Yeah, and even though he did not win, he had his moment. We saw the rest of the New Day team members go out there and support him and be like, you did what you did your best. And, I'm pretty sure, yeah, it was upsetting, but I'm pretty sure he's going to walk out with happy because of what he did in the chamber.
The Toyota Center was definitely on their feet. They got the "this is awesome" chants. They said the "you deserve it" chants. I believe it's what they also said. Thank you, Kofi. They really showed their appreciation for Kofi Kingston. And as I said before, don't be surprised if you see him have a big match at Mania. And if not, like, I would like to see Daniel Bryan face Kofi Kingston potentially. That would be a great match. We saw a little teaser of it now, but imagine a full-length match at WrestleMania where Kofi Kingston comes out champion. You will blow the roof out of that entire building.
Yeah, and what other better way than have Kofi Kingston probably win it at WrestleMania if it does happen. Have his moment, because keep in mind he's been in the company for 11 years, I believe, and he hasn't won a WWE championship as far as the World Heavyweight or the Universal Champion.
And I feel like now's the time. He deserves it, and he's only going to be at the level where he is now at his prime, at the elite competitor that he is now, for so long. And it's only going to happen once, and now is the biggest opportunity.
Yeah, so that's all we have for you guys today.
On this episode of Wrestling with Siblings, remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Leave a review on iTunes or leave a comment below to be entered to win our shirt. We don't have it with us right here, but we will post a picture somewhere down here or up here, wherever it fits. We'll post it, and yeah, you could potentially win one. Also, keep in mind, WrestleMania is 49 days away, and I cannot wait. And for those of you that do not know what WWS stands for, Armando, what does WWS stand for?
Wrestling with Siblings. Thank you guys so much.
We'll see you guys tomorrow on a brand new episode of Wrestling with Siblings.